wanted to show you how our beans are doing. I'm growing two types of beans at the moment. One's a Berlotti and one's a typical Blue Lake pole bean. And these are the pole pyramids I use. They're about 8 to 10 foot long. I typically use about 5 to 6 poles per pyramid, which allows me to get a good height on the beans and let them really run. As you can see, they're going all the way to the top. It makes picking in the fall a bit harder because you need a step ladder to get up there, but it does mean you get a great amount of beans, and it also means you get some real good wind movement through the leaves, stopping infection. So I'm not doing your typical beans, mainly because when it comes to runner beans, if you're picking them, you've got to pick them young, and they've got to be, and they don't often taste that nice. And to be honest, Mrs. Dirty Hands doesn't like them that much. However, with these Berlottis, I'm amazed at the amount of beans and seed you get out of these. And these guys are grown, in my case, specifically for drying purposes. Now, these are seeds that I kept back from last year. I'll be honest, they're doing far better this year because of it. So these are beans we actually dried last year are coming through. I'm trying to find in here a good one. So here you go. So just look at the size of that pod. That's the size of my hand in comparison. Good size of pod. We're going to get good sized beans off these this year. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's about 8 beans, and these things are loaded with them. The other reason I like these, purely aesthetics, is the colour on them. You get that redness coming through on the pods, which is amazing. Now these, when they're smaller, so kind of this kind of size, now that you can just cook up and eat as a normal bean. For me though, I'm just going to leave these guys to grow, get nice and fat, and then later in the year, just before the frost, they'll start to dry out and be ready for storage for the rest of the year. When they have fattened, you can also pick them and have them fresh. They're superb in soups or just with a bit of olive oil. So that's the Berlottis. Now over here, which we're still waiting for them to grow, is the Blue Lake. So this is just your standard pole bean, which we eat throughout the year as they grow. Nothing on there at the moment, so we're just waiting for those to flower and really start to form the beans coming through. As you can probably see up there, there's a cucumber's made its way into there as well. Now within this, we've also tried this year is this, which is a squash, climbing squash. There you can see within it, and that was one of those gardening mistakes that I let happen, because we found it must have been a squash seed left in the fertilizer, in the manure when I dug it in, and in the bottom it's grown, and that's then climbed up, and I've just let it climb up just to see how the plants coexist. I thought it might suck some of the water out, but to be honest, it's extremely healthy. In here, I thought it might suffer from powdery mildew, but there's a little bit on there, but it's nothing major, and that's thriving, and the beans don't seem to be affected by it at all. So again, sometimes it's worth just leaving it to see what happens. I know it's a technique I've tried before with zucchinis in the bottom, but I think the leaf cover normally covers that up too much and stops the growth. But for climbing squashes, I might try this in the future, maybe butternut or something like that. Well, that's a bit of a show of my my beans and the two types of beans I'm growing. If you haven't grown this, I would highly recommend you trying the Berlotti bean and giving that a try yourself. Thanks for watching dirtyhands.com. I look forward to seeing you next time.